every morning. Get SiriusXM and get the radio you love coast to coast. Call 844-711-8800 or go to SiriusXM.com to activate your radio now.
Where the wild things are. This is Steve Earle.
My name's Elizabeth Good.
This is Shooter Jennings.
My name's Johnny Knoxville. I'm here with my cousin Roger Allen Wade.
This is Mojo Nixon. Hardcore country, classic rock and roll, and a crazy cast of characters.
I've always been crazy.
To hear outlaw country, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or head to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
Did you know SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SiriusXM app filled with ad-free music made for everything you do? Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
Position out of the lead. Back there we go now. Chiefs Radio.
Touchdown, Kansas City.
Plus, you'll hear fantasy football updates and post-game interviews.
To hear NFL radio, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visiting SiriusXM.com/go.
Did you know SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SiriusXM app filled with music made for everything you do? Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018148688.
Amazing moments happen so much at SiriusXM. We want you to see them. SiriusXM Video lets you watch your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SiriusXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
From Cardi B to Billy Idol, hundreds of the biggest names in music are taking over the all-new SiriusXM app with exclusive guest DJs.
Glorilla is like, I love her. I heard the Tomorrow record. I'm like, I want to get on this song.
Olivia Rodrigo, Ed Sheeran, Metallica, Jelly Roll, and many, many more, all sharing their favorite songs and stories behind them. Hear all these guest DJs now on the new SiriusXM app. Get closer to everything that moves you, wherever you are, with the SiriusXM app.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, and the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. For me and people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day. Today's show is a beautiful, oh my goodness, it's already January the 12th, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you where the good Lord split you. As well as driving the fleet of Cadillac cars all across the universe. Really do appreciate that. You can follow Big C Sports Podcast on 29 podcast applications on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, Good Pods Podcast, TuneIn Podcast, Amazon Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. You can follow Big C Sports on GeoSavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa. Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Podyssey, Podcast Republic, and one that used to scare me but now it doesn't is allfeeds.ai. Give that some praise. The robots are trying to take over. You ever have a robot that didn't try to take over? They try to take over everything. But I also love saying thank you to the streaming apparatus for Big C Sports Podcast. You can also follow us streaming on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV. I want to give that some praise. Everybody needs praise in this world. I want to tell you what I love about Big C Sports Podcast is I love paying homage to our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know, anybody going through any kind of trauma, pick up the phone and call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. I know I need someone to lean on, and it's so good when someone's leaning back. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then he said, let there be light. And when God shines light on the subject, then God elucidates the matter. You got to listen to God if that makes sense to you. Don't go shucking and jiving. I want to say what I do with the Big C Sports Podcast. I'm introducing I bought a lie detector test. You know, with a lie detector test, you can aim it at anything and it will tell you the truth about that person. If you got a dog, it will tell you the truth about that dog. If you got a relationship, it will tell you the truth about that relationship. Where people can't lie to you. The dog can't say that it ate the homework. The dog can't say that it inculcated outside. When you see it right on the kitchen floor. Dog inculcated on the floor saying, no, I really went outside. Same with people. If you aim this lie detector test at a person, it'll start telling you exactly what their thoughts are, what they're doing. And some people call that intuition. Give intuition some praise. I love giving it praise if that makes sense to you. But I love the Big C Sports Podcast. Is number 1, I always produce the show. Number 2, I direct the topics. Number 3, I broadcast all the shows. Number 4, I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I knew I could use more laughter. And then the commercials are done. The stats provided, the storytelling, I even do the play-by-play, and then the show's uploaded to 29 podcast applications all across the universe. Out of New York City, I'm in Dimdale Hills, California. And then number 10, I never missed a show since creating Big C Sports with the crew back in the days at Salem Media, and I really do appreciate that. I want to give that some praise. All fair and loving work. What I love about doing Big C Sports Podcast, it is a beautiful Friday. We have some football coming up for the playoffs over the weekend. Obviously, NFL, this is why they play the game, because they want to win a championship. Big C Sports will be in Las Vegas for Super Bowl 58, all fair and loving war. But what I want to also do with Big C Sports Podcast is I want to make sure that I'm not just out there talking about sports. I also believe that we can talk about things that are real in life, about reparations. I'm so I'm so happy about that. There's so many things that God has opened up, and I want to give that some praise. That is not just about who won a game. I want to thank this is T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network, proud sponsor of the Big C Sports Podcast. Really do appreciate that. I want to thank PNC Private Bank, proud sponsors of Big C Sports Podcast. I want $6 billion. And I'm not sucking and jiving. I really do want the $6 billion. So much I really do appreciate about doing the show, Big C Sports Podcast. But I want to also make sure that I pay homage to my beautiful family, because sometimes we got to know where we come from. And I remember growing up, there are times that Mama would tell me things and I didn't want to believe it, but shortly after that, it would show up. And she still does that to this day. I want to give my mama some praise, but on my family side, I'm going to give praise to my beautiful great-grandmother. Called her Mama, beautiful, loving, kind woman, always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. Really do appreciate her. I want to also give praise to my great-granddaddy, called him Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player, known around his church buddies of making the best moonshine in the history of the universe. Never say, boys, get out of that barn. Now. And oftentimes we get out, but not when he said now. And then I want to thank my beautiful grandmother, called her Mud Deer, beautiful, loving, kind woman. She was a seer. She could oftentimes look at a person and tell you about their past, their present, and their future. She could read people. She would just pick things out about a person, and she could tell us what a person's doing just by looking at their picture. That's amazing, and she still helps me to this day. Really do appreciate Mud Deer. And then my beautiful grandfather, Hezekiah, another wonderful person. He was also a seer, could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and then also coaching all boys, a Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Always saying rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. Also, my mama could look at a person's picture and tell you what they're doing, and she was never wrong. Really do appreciate her. She's been speaking to me a lot lately. Love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then on my father's side, my beautiful grandfather, Albert Curry. He was a pastor. He had 3 churches. He also owned 2 gas stations. And what I really love is he owned 40 acres of land, like the Emancipation Proclamation, when President Abraham Lincoln was working with Frederick Douglass to craft the Emancipation Proclamation, where every free black person was supposed to give 40 acres and a mule. It was black soldiers that helped the Union win the Civil War. But they never got their 40 acres and a mule, if that makes sense to you. That went back to the Southern Confederates once President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. And then I want to say I appreciate my beautiful grandmother, Alberta Curry. She could also see things. And she worked with my granddaddy with the 3 churches and the 2 gas stations in Oakland. One night I was walking through a hallway about 10 o'clock at night, and I was tiptoeing through the hallway. And I felt somebody touch me on my forehead. And she said, "What are you doing, young man? You going to get some more cookies?" I said, "What are you doing up? It's 10 o'clock at night. Grandma, you normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, "What are you doing, young man? Going to get some more cookies?" I said, "Cookies are baby crap to what I'm doing. I'm going to get my reparations." She said, "You still want some more cookies?" But she said something I'll never forget. I was 8 years old. She said, "There is something about your voice. I love hearing you speak." How does she prophesize that I may be speaking all over the world with Big C Sports Podcast? I want to give that some praise because, the Spirit guides you. It's been guiding me a lot lately, especially this 2024. This is the year of God's manifestations, where all the truths in your life will be revealed, and I really do appreciate God for revealing those truths. And I love my beautiful grandmother. Then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that airplanes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Always saying, develop your mind to its highest extent. Really do appreciate my dad. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning. And Todd would speak. A voracious reader, always talking about sports and politics. Really do appreciate him. And then I'm going to give praise to my beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years from a major university. Daisy set up the very first interview for a Big C Sports Podcast. It was back at Salem Media. And from there, we went on to become the first time in the history of the United States of America that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before. And she would also help me set up when college coaches would come to the West Coast. and do it with Big C Sports. Daisy, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. I know we're all going through something as a family, but it's going to be okay when God reveals the right things that need to happen. And I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student and senior, very smart, erudite, a good man. You can be anything you want. Malcolm, actually, he helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers and look through newspapers to get stats on players and teams for Big C Sports Podcast. And one day, Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since, now on 29 podcast platforms, streaming on 4 TV platforms. One day, Malcolm said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. But how did my son see that? Because he has that same psychic ability that I was passed down from my mother and my grandparents. And shortly after that, you can see Big C Sports on television, streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Now, he wasn't making it up, but God shows you things in your spirit before you realize it with your eyes and your ears. And I always trust that spirit. I thank God for that. Give God praise for talking to me. And then Big C with all that wealth and knowledge over the years, like my great-granddaddy coming in that barn, always saying, you gotta believe, saying, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying, welcome to the show. As we nominated Big C Sports Podcast. Because, unlike most shows, I have no scripts. I have no 3-bay teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. I do my show with my higher self. And that's what I love about God. God gives me the ability to do that. You either lead, follow, or get out of the way. And before I get into this show for today, it is Friday, the 12th, 2024. I have some miraculous things that are happening in my life. And I just want to say, God, I just want to give you praise for shining light on things that only God can show you. I told you, I bought a lie detector test for Christmas. And I've been testing it out. And it is yet to be wrong. And I want to give God praise for that. Because sometimes you want it to be wrong, but trust what the Spirit tells you, if that makes sense to you. I want to give praise to the California Reparations Task Force, the chair, Camila Moore. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Amos C. Brown, the vice chair. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to the number 1 senator in the United States of America, Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. Also responsible for name, image, and likeness for college athletes to help them get paid. He also sponsored the Ebony Alert that helps law enforcement put the same amount of resources into finding black children as it puts into the Amber Alert to find white children, if that makes sense to you. Why do we need a different alert, Big C? Because law enforcement hasn't treated people the same. You know that through the Kern Commission and the book called The Color of Law. It's all there. But I thank Senator Stephen Bradford for being prescient enough to create a law, not a parade, not a march, not a song, but a law legislation. But he's also part of the California Reparations Task Force, helping us get reparations now, reparations forever. I love giving him praise. Think about that. He's not shucking and jiving. He's using the law, which is what we all need to have change happen. I really do appreciate him. Going to be meeting with him soon. I want to thank Council Member Monica Montgomery-Steppe. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to thank Assembly Member Reginald Jones-Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to thank Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to thank Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to thank Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, also a professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. And I'm going to give praise to Donald K. Tamaki. He is an attorney at law and also part of the California Reparations Task Force. After the Japanese American do the internment camps, then they got reparations from the United States government. He is the only one on the task force for California that his family has received reparations from the Japanese internment camps. And he's not even African American, but I want to give him praise. So he knows what it's like, and he's a champion for reparations for descendants of child of slavery. I love giving him praise. And then I want to thank, this is CNN, proud sponsors of Big C Sports Podcast. I want to thank Double O, part of the PAC Committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She sent me Executive Order 13985 on further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's called the White House. President Biden signed that in the order on his first day in office. And I just hope that he signs reparations next. Reparations? Yeah, I want to praise Georgetown University. They already pledged over $1 billion and counting for reparations for 272 family members that were sold off so they can pay the debts of Georgetown University. Isn't that something? They were sold. Men, women, and children. I want to thank Double O, part of the National PAC Committee for the National Black Wall Street Project, sent me an article from the United Nations that says strong leadership and political will are crucial to ensure reparatory justice for people of African descent. That's important. The United Nations says that reparations are due. If the United Nations says it, then shouldn't you say it too? Give United Nations some praise. And I want to praise Joe Biden for also study. Not legislation yet, but he should do it before the next election. It'll be it's like a layup. Remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he played basketball for the Lakers? He had the sky hook. Well, President Joe Biden has the layup. That means they put the ball in your hand. You're right under the basket. All you got to do is lay it on off the glass. In fact, you could even slam dunk if you want to get reelected, because the black vote got him in office last time, and I think he's prescient enough to see that the black vote can get him in office again. You know, I want people to Google Freedmen's Bank, Freedmen's Bank, a United States bank, also known as Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company. It was created in 1865 by Congress, March 3rd of 1865, providing a place for former slaves to safely store their money. After several successful years, the freedmen deposited more than $60 million into the bank. They had 50 white trustees. That's an oxymoron. 50 white trustees that control the bank. Think about it. They control the bank. The need for the bank came into place because freed blacks became evident during the American Civil War that African American soldiers in the Union Army, who were often denied access to conventional banks, were often taken advantage of by swindlers who squandered the money. Keep that in mind. It was John W. Alford, a congressional minister, and Anson M. Sperry, a United States Army paymaster, that individually identified that need and attempted to foster creation of such an institution in early 1865. Now, this is important for people who go out to vote. Alford's efforts culminated in the legislation passed by Congress March 3rd of 1865 that incorporated Freedmen's Savings and Trust. It was immediately signed into law by President Abraham Lincoln. Immediately. He didn't go on speeches. It was immediately signed into law by President Abraham Lincoln. Unfortunately, there were 50 white trustees in charge of the bank. As a black person, you could deposit your money in the bank, but you couldn't get the money out to get a home loan or start a business. But the white people used that money to invest. That's draconian. And after that, they stole the money. And there are people saying we don't deserve reparations. Yes, we do. People gotta see that. It's so important that we understand that. Before I get into sports, and I know a lot of people want to watch sports because our mind is like alcohol. I had heard some draconian men back in the day when I was in college. They would say, "Hey, Curry, you want to know what the equalizer is on a date?" I said, "The equalizer on a date?" They said, "Yeah." These are white guys that told me this. They said, "Give her some alcohol." I said, "How's alcohol an equalizer on a date?" They said, "Because if you give her alcohol, she doesn't have access to all of her faculties." Oh, I don't believe nothing like that. They said, "Yeah, it's true. If you give her some alcohol, she won't have access to all of her faculties. She'll think she does. But that's like walking down the aisles with your eyes closed, thinking you can see all the cars coming. You can't. And so that's why drinking and driving is illegal. But they said give them alcohol and then you can do what you want with them. And maybe they were right. They've been doing it for years. But I won't have any alcohol when I tell you this. Google this. It's called Senate Bill 490. Senate Bill 490. I just told you about Senator Stephen Bradford. And he's talking about creating Freedmen's Bureau for California. Well, Lincoln just did it back in 1865, March 3rd. It's in legislation right now in California. And that's by Senator Bradford. That's why I say he's the best senator of the United States. And everybody has their own thoughts about who is and who isn't. But I want to give him some praise because he's a brilliant man. And you know he does things in writing. You don't have to guess and wonder. Like with my lie detector test, sometimes you got to guess. when you're dealing with somebody, whether it's a relationship or a dog, you know, sometimes dogs lie. Sometimes the dog, some people say when they go to school and you didn't turn in your homework, you tell the teacher says, "Excuse me, where's your homework?" And the student says, "Well, the dog ate my homework." What? The dog ate your homework? Yeah, the dog ate my homework. And so the teacher says, "Well, wait till the dog poops and get the homework back." What? Well, then obviously you got to say, "Well, actually, I forgot to do my homework. The dog didn't eat it after all." People will lie on dogs. But it also works with people. It's called the lie detector test. And I bought one. And that stuff works. But be careful, because if you aim it at yourself, it'll tell you the truth about yourself too. If that makes sense. You can just, what did the good book say? The truth shall set you free. Let the truth set all of us free. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, I really do appreciate today. It's a beautiful Friday. It is January 12th, 2023. Actually, 2024. See, it caught me lying. I said it was 2023. It made the rumble in my stomach. It's like, no, Curry, it's 2024. And so I tied it to myself. You can't lie to it. Whenever you lie, you get a feeling in your stomach. It also works with people. But I want to say, give that some praise. These lie detectors are great. They're called artificial intelligence. It's not all bad. But I want to say, because football is big, and I love the game of football. I know a lot of people, they want to get into what's going to happen this week in the playoffs. Well, give the playoffs some praise. It's finally here. Not everybody made it. Just like a lie detector test, not everybody's going to make it. I went to the dentist today, and the dentist replaced some of those, I guess it's called silver or lead fillings, and they put some porcelain fillings in my teeth. And ironically, whether my dentist is listening or not, I went to the same dentist back in December of 2023. You know, like I told you, I bought a lie detector test, and the stuff works. You might think it's a joke, but it works. And something told me, they said they wanted to do a root canal. I'm like, a root canal? That normally is needed when somebody's tooth is hurting. There's no hurt in my tooth. And so when I went to the dentist, I had this queasy feeling in my stomach. I didn't want him to do it. So I got there and I was talking to the dentist. This was back in December. And the dentist said, well, we could do the root canal, or we could just pull the tooth and do an extraction. I said, extraction for what? And he said, well, because it might break when I do the root canal. I said, it's not even hurting now. Why don't you just, does it need a filling? He said, well, it needs a filling, but I might just do the root canal to be safe. I said, it didn't feel right in my stomach. You ever something that don't feel right in your stomach? When somebody's telling you something, it's called God talking to you. A fool will not listen to God when he's talking to you. So I said to the dentist, well, what happens if you don't give me a root canal? He said, well, then we need to replace that filling, but we may as well just do a root canal, and if it breaks, we can just do an implant. I said, well, how much is an implant? He said $5,000. I said, okay, will insurance cover it? He said, no, that's an elective. Insurance won't cover it. I said, okay, well, I don't want you to do the root canal then, because I want to get a second opinion. He said, well, you don't need a second opinion. You know, and then he said, because I told you I have a lie detector test. And you know what that dentist said to me? He said, well, you know, I'll actually get more credit if you let me do the root canal. Can you believe that? Because I told you, God's in my spirit. So, what are you trying to say, Big C? I'm saying, I'm just going to hold off on you doing anything to my tooth. They said, okay, it's your call. So, I set another appointment with a different dentist. You know, that dentist told me today, you don't need a root canal. We're just going to replace that lead filling with a porcelain filling. Same tooth. I'm glad God gave me a lie detector test in my spirit. I felt it in my gut. I felt like I've been feeling lately, like there's a disruption in my spirit. I can feel it. And when that man told me today, the dentist told me today, well, you don't need a root canal. We're just going to replace the lead filling with a porcelain filling. But he said, if the nerve is exposed as I'm taking out that filling, then you may need a root canal. But right now, we're just going to see how it works. You know, they gave me the Novocaine that they put in my gums. Now, that hurt when the needle went in. And then he started doing the teeth. They filled a couple of fillings. And it hit a little bit of the nerve. It was like, oh my God, I hope it doesn't hurt too much more than that. But you know when you go to the dentist, sometimes you're going to feel some pain. I mean, there was one time the pain felt like lightning. Like lightning hit me in the tooth. But I said, God, I don't want a root canal. If he can fix it, let him fix it. And I tell you, in about just a few seconds, the pain went away. And he said, okay, I think we got what we need to get, and you don't need a root canal. You don't need a root canal after all. What if I listened to that first dentist and not trusted my gut? What if I had listened to that first dentist back in December and not trusted my gut? Because his mouth was telling me yes, but my body was telling me no. I think R. Kelly wrote a song about that, if that makes sense to you. But I trusted my gut, and the truth that I felt so yucky about back in December, it was revealed today. You do not need a root canal. We just want to make sure that if we get to that, if we hurt the root, then you may need one. But this dentist was so good today, I told him, I thank you so much for your honesty. He didn't have to do a root canal. Then they took about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes to do the work. I was in the dental office for about 35 minutes, about an hour and 10 minutes overall. But the point is, how many times in our lives does the God speak to us through our gut, and we say, oh God, you can't be right. You got to be wrong because the dentist said he wanted to do a root canal. But God was telling me, see, I'm a praying man. Through my spirit, God was telling me, you don't need a root canal. And it was revealed today, about 35, 40 days later, I did not need a root canal. How many things are like that in our lives where people just lie to you? Just look you right in the eye and lie, but your spirit's telling you they're lying. Just like the guy that at school said, well, my dog ate the homework. And I just want to give God praise for having that spirit there. It's the same spirit that keeps a deer from being devoured by a lion when it's going to get some water. You got to listen to it and always give God praise if that makes sense to you. Well, now if we stand up for the kickoff, we got NFL football. It's called Wild Card Weekend. And 800 Gambler, if you believe in gambling on sports, I don't. But the first week of the playoffs, they're here. And we think about the teams and the lines and the pick for each games. And I love this time of year. It's a great time of year. But when you think about the NFL football season, imagine if someone told you that Joe Flacco and C.J. Stroud, I think Joe Flacco's almost eligible for Medicare. And we're doing a workshop on that coming up soon in California in January 27th. What if Joe Flacco, who's probably eligible for Medicare, and C.J. Stroud, who just got old enough to be legal to drink? Isn't that something? If they were facing off in a wild card weekend, would you believe it? Or that Mason Rudolph and Baker Mayfield would be starting in this round again. You know, it's amazing. You would have never believed it. A guy that's eligible for Medicare playing against a guy who just got his license and he's just old enough to drink. Don't drink and drive. But that's what we're seeing in the NFL. And so what else will we see as they start the kickoff? And I'm thinking about this great sport called NFL football that I love. And I just want to give football some praise because I love it. I really do. You can love something, and sometimes it doesn't love you back. But football has been very, very good to me. That's why I get to do Big C Sports Podcast. So when I think about the Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans, and Cleveland's favored by 2.5. In the case for the Browns, they have a dominant defense. Joe Flacco can throw the ball deep. And Kevin Sosnowski, I'm telling you, he has that lie detector also. He's trusting a man that people said he's too old to throw the football. That's Flacco. So we got to start with the defense that finished second in the NFL this season. The unit is built on getting after the quarterback and playing an aggressive style of coverage. The Cleveland Browns, they played man at the 4th highest rate in the NFL. And then on the other hand, Houston Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud, he finished 27th out of 32 quarterbacks in expected points added per pass play against man coverage. 800 Gambler. In other words, the way the Browns want to play has been effective against Stroud this season. Now, offensively, this version of Joe Flacco is in full mode right now. His average pass in the regular season is about 9.3 yards in the air, which is third highest among all starters, 800 Gambler. The Texans defense has been vulnerable to downfield passes. They rank 26th against the deep ball. Now, this regular season, now Flacco, he doesn't have to be perfect. Again, he's almost ready for Medicare. He just needs to make enough plays downfield to give the Cleveland Browns a chance. The case for the Houston Texans. This is some good old boys that love to bet on sports. C.J. Stroud has been one of the most impressive rookie quarterbacks of all time. The great Muhammad Ali. And that's not hyperbole. It hasn't been a perfect season for him or for Houston. But when you think about what they've done, this team, they really have turned the corner. DeMeco Ryans given a job as a head coach. He was a former defensive coordinator for the 49ers. But C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State, he's elevated his teammates and been very consistent for a first-year player. Remember, he finished second place in the Heisman Trophy balloting last year some people thought he should have won it. But be that as it may, he finished second place. At the same time, Bryce Young won the Heisman Trophy last year. But Chase Young's in the playoffs. Now, finishing the regular season 7th in pass play, Stroud plays a position like a 7-year vet. He's been around for 7 to 10 years. And imagine what he's going to be like in 3 years. And he has a great wide receiver in Nico Collins. He's caught 1,300 yards this season in passes. He's been amazing for Houston. But as I talked about earlier, Stroud's numbers have not been as good against man coverage. But the Browns may be without their best corner, Denzel Ward, for this game after he suffered a knee injury during Thursday's practice. Now, defensively, the Texans have been mostly mediocre this season, but they can get after the quarterback. They don't need to completely shut the Browns down, but they just need to force enough coverage and negative plays to create a couple of turnovers. We know that Joe Flacco is going to give them opportunities because he doesn't have the zip on the ball that he used to have when he spins it. It's just a matter of how they capitalize. So I see DeMeco Ryans did a fantastic job this season, but like most defensive coaches, sometimes they get ahead of themselves. They can get a little conservative with the in-game decision-making. And you think about what I saw in Week 18 against the Colts. Stefanski, on the other hand, he's been pretty good making adjustments all season long. So what does that mean, Big C? Well, it's no fun to go against the Texans given how well Stroud has performed. They still have a young man behind the center. They got a young man behind the center, and you know he's probably going to get caught with his hands in the cookie jar. You know how you ask the kid, did you do your homework last night? And the kid said to the teacher, yeah, but the dog ate my homework. Well, the dog might eat the homework too. I think Cleveland's defense keeps the Browns in every game for the playoffs. And I think Flacco and Amari Cooper can do enough offensively to get the win. And C.J. Stroud might have some moments where he plays like a rookie. So me, I got the Browns winning this. I don't have them winning by a touchdown, but I have them winning by 5 points. You want to give me some praise. Now, my mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yes. I think that was a great R. Kelly. It's amazing when we talk about things that are important. In football, I love this time of year. We have another big-time game. We have the Miami Dolphins at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are a 4.5-point favorite. I think it's hard to bet on the Chiefs just the way they've been playing this year. The case for the Dolphins, when this offense is in high gear, Miami can score on anyone. They put up 70 points at one time this year. And it can also do so in different ways. The Dolphins finished the regular season second in offense. And they were one of only 3 teams to finish in the top 5 in both rushing and passing efficiency. The 49ers and the Ravens, they were the other 2 teams. Now, running back Raheem Mostert, who used to play for the 49ers, and wide receiver Jalen Waddle, they are questionable for this game. But there's at least a chance that the Dolphins' offense could be maybe close to full strength. I don't know if they're going to be at full strength, but they're saying they may be close to full strength. And sometimes that's all you need when they play the game on Saturday night. Now, what about the defense? That's a different story. The NFL coaches and GM, they hate nothing more than when a bunch of injuries pile up at one position. And that's what's happened with the Dolphins this year. At a time, I had them getting to Super Bowl 58. But that's, you ever drive down the road and you have a flat tire? You might be late getting to your appointment. Or if the dog eats your homework. Sometimes when you call in sick, so you don't have to go to work, you call in sick, and you don't know your boss called in sick and they see you at the movies. I mean, those things happen. And when your players start going down, sometimes it's like calling in sick. And the Dolphins have had that problem. The Dolphins this year, having lost defensive end Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, and then Andrew Ginkel to season-ending injuries, you got to hope that this team can win with the backup players. But veteran defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, knowing that he's working with a bunch of backup players, can he scheme up a way to stop touchdown Patrick Mahomes? I don't think he can. If you're the Dolphins, this is why you hired Fangio in the first place. For the offense, when these two teams played in Week 9, it was 21-14 Kansas City, but they had to come back to win that game. That's something that gives you pause. And the Chiefs had just 16 first downs and 270 yards. This Kansas City offense is nowhere close to the version we've seen in previous years when Eric Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator. So the Chiefs have obvious issues at wide receiver, but they also are very vulnerable at offensive tackle spots, and the Dolphins should be able to target those weak spots. Just like my lie detector test, it can tell you if somebody is lying to you, and it's like 100% accurate. Sometimes I say, oh, no, I don't want it to be accurate. But it is 100% accurate. I know because I use it on myself. I tried to fool it one time, and I said today is January 12th, 2023. And it said, nope, 2024. It's amazing technology nowadays. But the case for the Chiefs, they still got touchdown Patrick Mahomes. They still got head coach Andy Reid. They still got a really good defense, and they're at home. This season did not go the way the Chiefs were anticipating, but everything else that they want is still right in front of them. Like that last slice of lemon meringue pie that you think you're going to eat, but somebody's already eaten it, if that makes sense to you. So Kansas City, they're at home. They have the crowd on their side. It's cold weather. Miami comes from a warm weather city. Only 4 teams finished in the top 10 of both offensive and defensive efficiency. The Ravens, the 49ers, the Cowboys, and the Chiefs. And the Chiefs are going up against a banged-up Dolphins defense. On the other side of the ball, defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo did an excellent job against Mike McDaniel's offense in Week 9. Think about it. The Dolphins had just 292 yards of offense. In that game, they managed 2 touchdowns. So the way I see it, I think the Chiefs are at home. There are plenty of reasons to pick the Chiefs. I'm telling you, this is not the same Kansas City team without Eric Bieniemy as offensive coordinator. I'm telling you, that's my feeling in my gut. Like, my lie detector is never wrong. I might not want to believe it, but it's never wrong. And when I think about Kansas City playing on Saturday night in minus 4 degrees, which it feels like minus 24, in Florida, it really gets colder than about 35 degrees. With all that heat and humidity, and you're going to take him to minus 24 degree temperature or minus 4, a Dolphin doesn't swim well in the ice. In this game, would be played with snow on the ground. So, in my opinion, I think you're going to see the Chiefs win. It may not be a blowout. I'm thinking they'll win, but the way the Chiefs are, they love Las Vegas. They may not cover. They may win by a field goal, if that makes sense to you. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And now you got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Buffalo Bills. Well, give me some praise for that, because my lie detector test is usually pretty accurate for NFL football. Now the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are favored by 10. I think they'll cover. They are the Steelers. Their whole stick is weirdness sometimes. They are capable of dragging anyone into the mud and creating a scenario in which they all figure out, how did the Steelers win that game? How did it come so close? Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season, but they may be getting tired of him in Pittsburgh. You ever have some socks that you leave by the edge of the bed, and you leave them there for a long enough time, they start to stink when you pick them up. But if you want to feel good about the Steelers, they got to have turnovers. They got to have a lot of turnovers. But I like the Steelers' run game with Najee Harris out of Antioch High School in the Bay Area and Alabama. Jalen Warren. I like the Steelers' wide receivers, George Pickens and Deontay Johnson. Mason Rudolph. He does not need to be great. He just needs to produce a few explosive plays. And it feels like he can do that. Given the injuries, Buffalo has a cornerback in Rasul Douglas. He did not practice on Wednesday or Thursday because of a knee injury. Even if he plays, he's not going to be 100%. Defensively, that Steel Curtain defense is not showing up. The Steelers will be without edge rusher and defender, maybe their top defensive player, T.J. Watt. but at least it looks like they'll get a star safety and Micah Fitzpatrick back. But at the same time, you don't have a lot of edge rushing if you don't have Watt there trying to chase down the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. Now, for the Buffalo Bills, they gotta finish and start strong. They usually start slow and finish strong, but the Bills finished third this season behind the two teams, the Ravens and the 49ers, and at the same time, some people look at them as Super Bowl contenders. The Bills finished the second half of the season on a roll. They had a stall where they were losing games, but they finished strong with the last 5 being wins. No team beat them by more than 6 points. The best version of the Bills is the one that operates with a structure, a physicality that allows them to gash opponents on the ground or through the air when Allen can do his thing when he gets into a zone, and now you don't have T.J. Watt to chase him down. The most fun version of the Bills, for people who are not used to how they play, is the one that operates in chaos. Josh Allen's going full superhero mode, but you got to be careful because all it takes is one hit to knock him out of a game. Defensively, after an ugly stretch in the middle of the season, head coach Sean McDermott has been able to find answers. Not a great group of players for Buffalo, but I'm telling you, this team, they're going to beat Pittsburgh. How they do in the rest of the playoffs, I don't know. Because against the Dolphins in Week 18, they did a lot of bad things, but they found a way to win that game because they had a kick return for a touchdown. A special teams play. Will they get that against the Steelers? They may not need it. I'm telling you, the Bills, they're going to beat Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh's missing T.J. Watt. At the same time, they have to be careful and not be Superman if you're Josh Allen. Just trust your run game, trust your pass game. Stay away from being hit by those linebackers for Pittsburgh, especially Micah Fitzpatrick that hits like a linebacker. So going to the playoffs, going on the road is tough. There's potential snow on the ground. The Steelers playing snow, so does Buffalo. And Coach Mike Tomlin, he's built for this. If it's going to be an upset, they got to create a lot of turnovers for Buffalo. I don't see that happening. I got Buffalo winning. I think they'll cover the spread. Green Bay at the Dallas Cowboys. McCarthy used to coach the Green Bay Packers. Now he's coaching the Dallas Cowboys. You have Jordan Love coming in to play against Dak Prescott. The Cowboys are favored by 7. The case for the Packers, you've been watching Jordan Love. You ever been in love? What are Tina Turner say? What's love got to do with it? Well, you'll find out. In their first season of the post-Aaron Rodgers era, isn't it amazing Aaron Rodgers left to join the New York Jets? He's out of the playoffs. In love that Rodgers did not like, he managed to get Green Bay into the playoffs. And Rodgers couldn't get him there last year. They let him go. Sometimes you got to let people go and then go with what you find in your spirit. I'm proud of Love because love is good as long as it's honest. If it's not honest, let it go. So they let it go to New York City, and they found real love in Jordan Love. Now, the Packers, they produced the 6th best offense and the 4th best passing offense in the NFL. I think Matt LaFleur, he's found the guy that he can really love because Love has shown that he's a team guy. When many people thought that Aaron Rodgers was not about team, it's more about Aaron Rodgers. And sometimes people felt that maybe, just maybe, he was in it for himself and he wasn't in it for the team. Now, people say he wasn't in it for the team. Yeah, some people say he wasn't in it for the team. And when you think about a guy that's not in it for the team, you got to wonder, do they really need him? Well, they prove that they don't need Aaron Rodgers, but they do need love. Everybody needs love. You need good love, not deceitful love, deceptive love. And this guy, he showed a love for the Packers. He was willing to back up Aaron Rodgers, and now he has his chance to shine. And love is always honest. Even if it doesn't feel good, at least it's honest. And I think when you look at this guy, LaFleur, a record of 56-27, might be able to coach a little bit. This offense has been a blast to watch with Green Bay because they found real love. He played at Liberty High School in Bakersfield, went to Utah State. It looks like a guy who's in total command of the game, and he's learned a lot sitting on the bench backing up Rodgers. So I think he's going to find that love is good as long as it's honest. He was honest enough to stay with them, and now the Packers are in the playoffs. I think they play free. I think they play loose, but Dallas is hard to beat at home. The case for, how about those Cowboys? How about those Cowboys, you say? The Cowboys at home, they got touchdown Dak Prescott. he's going to have a monster game. Prescott was sensational this season. He finished great in the pass department. He'll have a second MVP ballot behind him, only Lamar Jackson. And now he gets to face a Packers defense that finished 27th. And this group is responsible for both Bryce Young's most promising start and the short-lived Tommy DeVito's type. I think about this team and the Dallas Cowboys. They just celebrated Jimmy Johnson, the great coach, and the Cowboys Ring of Honor. And I'm telling you, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, the Cowboys should be up and down the field all day against the Green Bay Packers. They play in the dome, so the weather would not be a factor, so Green Bay will not benefit by that. And things that work in Dallas' favor, they're at home. During the regular season, the Cowboys went 8-0 with a plus 172-point differential at home. And that's the best home point differential for any team in the past 10 seasons. How about those Cowboys? So the Cowboys, to me, they're on a destiny march to do some things that they've been trying to do, which is get back to the Super Bowl. Because if they win this game against Green Bay, then they're looking at only having to travel to San Francisco if it matches that way. And I know Jerry Jones wants so badly to win a Super Bowl, or at least to get there. Mike McCarthy, he's on a big spotlight right now. It's never ideal for people to say if you don't win out this year, you're going to be fired. But he's a great coach. He's led the Cowboys to 4 straight 12-win seasons. That wasn't even done under Jimmy Johnson. So he's doing his thing. So I like the Dallas Cowboys. I like Dak Prescott. I like CeeDee Lamb. I think the Cowboys are going to do great in this game. And I think they win by a touchdown against the Green Bay Packers. And now the final game that people are thinking about that's really on my mind that I really care about watching, because I'm a West Coast guy, even though I cover all the NFL. The game that I really like is the one in Detroit with the LA Rams, and this is what the NFL wanted also too. The LA Rams, they wanted to see Stafford going back to Detroit where it all started for him. The LA Rams at Detroit's favored by 3. The offense got healthy at the perfect time for the Rams. The Rams dealt with a number of injuries across the season, but they've got Matthew Stafford, who's going back to where he started. They got the great Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams, along with an overachieving offensive line. And I think they're ready to make a playoff run, even though they rested some players against San Francisco. This is a team that's ready. They have eye-popping moments this season. In Week 14, they put up 410 yards on a Ravens team that had been dominating opponents. And then I think about how they faced a Lions defense that let Nick Mullins throw for 396 yards last week. It's hard to picture a scenario in where the Lions have a letdown, but they may have a letdown because there's been so much hype for Detroit. They haven't seen the playoffs in many, many moons. But I think Cooper Kupp's going to have a great game. I think Aaron Donald's going to have a great game. I think when you look at Matthew Stafford, he's going to have a great game going back to Detroit and playing against Jared Goff. Is it a revenge game for Jared Goff? The storyline is so juicy. When Jared Goff was playing well for McVay, he got no credit. It was all about McVay coming up with brilliant plays. But I'm telling you, there's something about this Rams team. I might be the only one that says Las Vegas is all swinging toward the Detroit Lions. In a real fight, a lion would maul. It would maul a ram. But it's not a real fight. Sean McVay has Super Bowl experience with the Rams. They've won one. Weird things can happen when you're the home team and it's in a new territory for you. And I'm telling you, I might be wrong about my thoughts, but I trust my gut. As wrong as it may be in this one, I'm going with the Rams to go back there and get the win in Detroit. Because all the Detroit players, they've been listening to the media in Detroit about how great this team is. It could be a Super Bowl year. I think not. I think Matthew Stafford goes back home and he outperforms Jared Goff. And I think, the Detroit Lions, they just lost a tight end that's very valuable for them. I think the Rams are getting healthy, and they already rested their starters against San Francisco. I'm going for the Rams to get the upset against the Detroit Lions. Oh, you all must be out of your mind, Big C. Well, I might be out of my mind, but my lie detector is rarely ever wrong. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I close out today's show, the Philadelphia Eagles at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are favored by 3. There's more talent on this team for Philadelphia. The Eagles' offense has been underachieving this season. But in any given Sunday, the great Al Pacino told us, you have touchdown Jalen Hurts, you have A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, a healthy offensive line, plus they can score 30 points. For those two teams that played in Week 3, the Eagles delivered a dominant 25-11 victory. The offense put up 472 yards, and the defense limited Tampa Bay to 175 yards. Do you trust Jalen Hurts? Or do you trust Baker Mayfield? I trust Jalen Hurts. They were in the Super Bowl last year. It doesn't mean they get back this year. But if you're in a playoff game and you have touchdown Jalen Hurts, at one time they were 10-1, and then injuries set in, and they stumbled a little bit, but they still made the playoffs. I'm telling you, I like this team in Philadelphia. What can you say about the Buccaneers? They can move the ball against anyone. The Eagles right now, defense, they've been breaking some too. At the same time, I got to look at Tampa Bay, and I think, what can Tampa Bay do? They really have nothing to lose. They were knocked out last time 27-11. Even if they score another touchdown or two, I think the Eagles, they're so resilient and they have experience, and I think it should help them to get on top of the mountain. And an eagle can fly higher than a buccaneer can fly, if that makes sense to you. If you see a pirate ship, just fly high if you're an eagle. So defensively, the matchup is also set well for Tampa Bay. The Eagles' offense has been a little bit slipping, missing on all cylinders against the blitz, and the Buccaneers blitz at the third highest rate in the NFL. Now, Tampa Bay struggled against the Eagles' run game in the first meetings, but the Buccaneers right now, I'm telling you, there's something about them. They're going to have a lot of people cheering against them down in Tampa, but there's something about this team in Philadelphia that I think they're going to show what they showed last year. They're a resilient team, and people counted them. I know they lost to the Giants, but that's because I think they were trying to rest players. Now, I may be wrong, but I doubt it. It's a tough one to pick given the injury situation on both sides. But if I'm going to go with experience, I'm going to go with the touchdown Jalen Hurts. He's dealing with a finger injury and was limited in practice. But that's practice. And then Baker Mayfield, he's dealing with an ankle and a rib injury. All you got to do is hit him in the ribs a couple of times. And it's hard to throw when your ribs are hurting. And I like the experience that Philadelphia has. So in my opinion, I'm telling you, I'm going to go with a team that's been there more lately, and I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Now, my lie detector may be wrong. My mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yes. I got to go with Philadelphia winning that game, but that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. That's Big C Spots for NFL football, and it's the playoffs. It's win or go home. You got to trust your players, and I think the Eagles, they just been able to do more and have success over the last couple of years than the good old boys down at Tampa Bay. That's my story, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm also going to say we have a Martin Luther King Jr. holiday coming up over the weekend on Monday, but I will do a show I think is appropriate for MLK Day. And I know a lot of the federal government offices are closed, but I will pay homage to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. There'll be a lot of people doing celebrations all over the country. I want to give that some praise too. But at the same time, I want everyone to just enjoy this beautiful weekend and trust your lie detector test. It's usually you feel it in your gut. At least the one I bought, it tells me that. And whatever you do, always trust God. And maybe you all have a safe weekend this weekend. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as you know, as I always tell you on every Big C Sports show, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off. But don't let someone you love get behind the car after they've been drinking and driving. Don't do that. The life you save may be your own or somebody that you love. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you on every Big C Sports show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day. What about Drew Boudini Brown? Oh, right, that's right. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali would say, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I feel like saying reparations now, reparations forever. And then I feel like a butterfly and I sting like a bee. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. Nobody should ever have someone go, oops, upside your head because you made me mad. That's my story, and I'm taking with it. Call 911. Things change when the police show up. What about President Abraham Lincoln, Big C? As I always want to tell you, back by popular demand, I want to pay homage to President Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president, as we watch the games this weekend. Well, what would Abraham Lincoln say for this weekend? He would tell President Joe Biden and all the presidential candidates, he says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Come on, say it like you're going to cheer for your team as they play the game. What did President Abraham Lincoln say to all of our politicians stopping for your vote? He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Come on, say it one more time. Say it like your lie detector test is working this time. The lie detector test for the candidates running for president, ask them, do they believe in reparations? If they do, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. I thank you. I appreciate you. I hope that you have a super fantastic day.